Hey, this is Miss Cooper here with your World History Chapter 2 commentary video. I have a document for you. I want you to follow along. I'm going to read and summarize and give you some explanation for the information that you're going to be dealing with in this week's material. So, the title of this chapter is The Enlightenment. And our main objective, as will be for quite some time, is we're going to be trying to analyze primary and secondary sources, and we're going to be identifying the main idea. So as we analyze any document that comes across the video screen or a document that I hand you, we want to be trying to determine the main idea. We also want to be looking for evidence that supports it, but ultimately we want to know what it is that we're talking about this week. And the overarching topic is the Enlightenment. So I'm going to just kind of start breaking down this document, so make sure you're following along. So it starts with lesson 1. There are 3 lessons that would be a part of this particular chapter. And the ideas of the Enlightenment include about 4 different individuals that produced a school of thought. A school of thought is just a way a group of people might happen to think because a person has decided to either publish an article or a book, or they have given a speech, and they've done something in that arena. So there are 4 people that we're going to mention right here on this document. There are a few others that you will read about in your additional document. So the first individual is Montesquieu. Montesquieu attempted to find the natural laws that govern the social and political relationships of human beings. So Montesquieu wanted to get people to think about how people want to be governed. We had gone from the last chapter where we were dealing with absolutism and the reign of kings, the divine right of kings, king's thought or queen's thought. They can just cut your head off. That's it. We'll just do what we want to. And people began to think differently. So Montesquieu did a lot of work in trying to get people to understand the natural laws that govern the social and political relationships. Like, how do we naturally want to get along with each other or even be governed? Another individual is Voltaire. Voltaire believed in deism, which holds that God created the universe, set it in motion, and allowed it to run without interference according to its natural laws. So Voltaire is more of he believes that there is a God, there's some deity, and everything has been established by that, and it's moving in its own orbit. That's what Voltaire wanted people to kind of think about. Then there's Adam Smith. He promoted the idea of laissez-faire economics, which holds that the state should not interfere in economic matters. Now, this is going to become a problem a little bit later on, and as we get to the chapters that deal with the Industrial Revolution, because laissez-faire says hands off. Don't get involved. Don't regulate. Don't tell us what to do. And there's only so much not being told what to do that can happen, because sometimes when people are allowed to run rampant and just do whatever they want, they might do dangerous things or they might cause harm to people. So Adam Smith's concept of laissez-faire was very popular for businesses. They were like, yeah, don't tell us what to do. Let us do whatever we want to, make money however we want to. And that's going to cause some problems in the near future, and still does today sometimes. So that's Adam Smith. Then you have Mary Wollstonecraft. This is a woman activist. An activist is an individual that tries to advocate for a specific cause. They might do it by trying to get people registered to vote, or in Wollstonecraft's case, women were not allowed to vote, and women had very little rights in many parts of the world. Even today, there are still places. Saudi Arabia, literally a few years ago, if not 2 years ago, just allowed their women to be able to drive. Drive? They just allowed, that just became legal, that women are allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia. So, yeah, Wollstonecraft.
All right, Northside. Hopefully, we had a great virtual Friday. Thank you guys for all the hard work this week. If you haven't already, hit the door. Time to go home. Enjoy your weekend.
I'm sorry. But anyway, I want to finish this. I didn't want to stop it. She advocated for women's rights by claiming that because the Enlightenment was based on an idea of reason in all human beings, women should have the same rights as men. Yes, she said that early. That no, stop this double standard. She said that. That's the four individuals that deal with viewpoints that spurred on the Enlightenment. Now, the second lesson deals with a war. Anytime we discuss a war in this class, you want to think about three things every time: who's fighting, why are they fighting, and who wins. Okay? And in the who wins part, there usually is a treaty of some sort that you need to remember the name of the treaty. You should be thinking about the terms of the treaty because the treaty tells it all. So, for every war, think about who's fighting, why are they fighting, and who wins. Okay? Or if there's not a declared winner, sometimes there's an armistice or a ceasefire, but if there's not a declared winner, pay attention to the paperwork that comes at the end of it, the treaty. So the 7 Years' War, in three different locations, it was taking place. Three different locations. In Europe, Prussia is the main country. They seized Silesia while France invaded Austrian territory. In 1763, Austria officially recognized Prussia's permanent control of Silesia. So yeah, Prussia is like Germany, okay, or the Germanic state. So Prussia, it seized this place, took it, okay, while France invaded Austrian territory. So Prussia and France are not getting along. They're taking stuff from each other. And in 1763, Austria officially recognized Prussia's permanent control of that place. Okay, maybe not too happy about it, but they did. Okay, then in Asia, France took Madras in India from the British after the Treaty of Paris in 1763. The British withdrew and left India to the British. Now, they just went over into Asia and started taking stuff. Pay attention to that. Okay, 1763, Treaty of Paris. That's like an ending thing, all right? So now you have in North America, the British captured the French fortress of Louisbourg at the entrance of the St. Lawrence River. By the Treaty of Paris, the French transferred Canada and the lands east of the Mississippi to England. Spain transferred Spanish Florida to British control, and in return, France gave its Louisiana territory to the Spanish. Once again, you've got people coming from one place, going into another place, just getting stuff, and then shaking hands with each other about what they got. Very, very interesting. And then the last lesson in this particular set of material is information about the American Revolution. And there's a timeline. 1765, the colonists revolt against British taxes that they think are unfair, and they were. 1774, the First Continental Congress convenes and urges colonists to form private armies to fight the British. Yeah, the British would say, we'll protect you, but who's going to protect us against you? So they had to form their own militias, okay? In 1776, the colonies officially declared their independence from Britain. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. They were in Philadelphia, and they met, and talked about it, and it was amazing. Okay, the first time in the history of the world it had ever been done. Most people became colonies and you stayed stuck to whomever colonized you. And the colonists in America said, we're not going. No, we're not going to do it. We're going to be independent. And they did. So in 1781, the British surrendered. In 1783, they signed the Treaty of Paris. Now, there are multiple treaties of Paris. So just make sure you know which one is which. This one is 1783. Okay, remember the one in 1763? That was the one that dealt with the 7 Years' War. That's France and the British and even Prussia. That's over there. Okay, the 7 Years' War. That Treaty of Paris, because France was involved. So, and usually they sign it in a certain place, and it can be called that, but it still has a date, and it has specific terms, and it's connected to a specific war. So there are more than one Treaty of Versailles, There's more than one Treaty of Paris. But you still need to know the name of it. You need to know what it's connected to and the terms. So now you have in 1783 the Treaty of Paris, which recognized the independence of the colonies it signed. In 1787, the U.S. Constitution is approved, forming the government that rules today. Now, there's some extra information in the back. Please read it. The Methodist Church was founded by John Wesley, because remember, religion played a huge role, but religions were splitting up. An important document called the Magna Carta was written a long time before this stuff, but it laid the groundwork for the current Constitution, especially at the time of the writing of the Constitution, when the colonies declared their independence in 1776. They wanted to have a document, a constitution, and the Magna Carta was what they went to. They looked at that to put together that body of laws. A couple of Enlightenment thinkers, Diderot, Rousseau, and Descartes. Okay, Diderot, it looks like Diderot, but it's Diderot. He was responsible for establishing the encyclopedia. Rousseau, his name is Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He created the concept of a social contract, which means we ought to agree on this whole thing about being governed. We ought to like what's happening. You ought to just not come in here and tell us what you're going to do, or you're going to kill us. That, absolutism kind of said that. I'll cut your head off if you disagree. I'll have you hung in the street if you disagree. We'll burn you at the stake like you're a witch if you disagree. So the contract was kind of a different idea. And this is Jean-Jacques Rousseau. So Cardinal Richelieu, that's a kind of a last chapter's name. But remember, that's a guy that's using espionage, spying. He totally started recruiting spies to help the government. At that time, it was the monarch. But that idea continues. Peter Romanov is another last chapter's name that establishes Russia with that Tsar absolute rule. Okay. And then there's Rene Descartes that established the quote, I think, therefore I am. What you think, you can be. Because people had said, you're only going to be what we tell you. If we tell you you're a farmer because your dad was a farmer, that's all you're going to be as a farmer. But Rene Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. I will decide what I'm going to be. So this is your commentary video for chapter 2. Thank you for listening. Peace and love until next time.